So first, I'm going to ask you right out of the gate, did you expect an announcement forthcoming kind of in this timing about 10 days before the game?
I expected a decision to be made. I did not necessarily expect an announcement just because, and we're referencing the starting quarterback announcement. Jarren Williams, redshirt freshman, is going to be the Miami Hurricanes starting quarterback for the opener and then hopefully for the duration of the season. And I say hopefully because if he plays well, then he will maintain his starting position. That is the goal. But yeah, I expected after, and everybody had said after the second scrimmage that they were going to make a decision. Manny Diaz, Dan Enos, just pretty much everybody around expected a decision to be made after the second scrimmage, which was last Saturday. But I was not necessarily expecting an announcement to the public or anything. But yeah, Monday morning, they just Manny Diaz decided that was it. He had already had a preliminary conversation and whispered over in Jarren Williams' ear that after the scrimmage, he said, "Yeah, you're going to be the guy." And then spoke with Dan Enos. Dan Enos detailed at Media Day yesterday that he and Manny did not speak previously about the quarterback battle because they didn't want to have any kind of influence on what was going on. But when they sat down, they were both kind of waiting for the other one to share their ideas. And they were both like, yeah, so Jarren, right? Yeah, and that was how that went. So yeah, Monday morning, 11:30 is when the announcement was made. And yeah, so Jarren Williams is going to be your starting quarterback for the University of Miami. And, very excited to hop into the season, obviously with clarity to that position and just moving forward.
So there are two basic dynamics. There's a ton of dynamics, but there's two basic ones that you touched upon it to a certain extent in regards to, I think, any coaching staff leading into the season in which there's a heated quarterback battle, especially when it involves inexperienced players in that position, want basically have a framework in which they want to be able to announce a decision X number of days, X number of time before the opener. But the competition may not allow that, the closeness of the competition. So this seems pretty decided in Jarren Williams' favor.
Yeah, very decisive. Everybody in all the reports, even from our guys, Gabby Urrutia and Marshall Thomas, who have been at practice. Gabby, I think, every day except for like two, and Marshall just recently. But and then other people as well, other journalists and things with their reports as well. But Jarren Williams was the most consistent. And then he also had a measure of explosivity to his play as well. But his accuracy was there, obviously just doing the operational things of getting the team to the line, executing the motion, audibling when needing to get into a better play. Just doing all of the things that you need to do. And then again, obviously going up against one of the best defenses in America, the offense is going to struggle a little bit. But Jarren Williams did a good job to handle that, did a good job to bounce back. Manny Diaz was pissed after the second scrimmage. He was not pleased at all with the offensive performance in the first half of that scrimmage, but did say that the offense bounced back in the second half. And he noted Jarren Williams for a touchdown pass to Will Mallory in the second half of the last scrimmage. And that was the only quarterback who he mentioned by name, and that was telling. N'Kosi Perry, from the highlight video that was put out by the University of Miami athletic department, N'Kosi Perry did throw a touchdown in the second half as well. But yeah, apparently, Jarren was just more consistent, and it was pretty decisive. N'Kosi, he was still turning the ball over a little bit. So even with all the physical gifts that he does possess, if you're giving the ball to the other team, that's not a good thing. And then Tate Martell just honestly is not really an accurate passer. And that bore itself out to be true just over the course of time. And Tate Martell even, he was interviewed. It was before the decision was made. It was the second week of practice, but he was made, or all three quarterbacks were made available for a second time of the fall. And he said, yeah, I came in and I was expecting to do all of the offense out of shotgun, which is his strength. If you remember when Brock Berlin was here, again, that 2003 game against Florida, we had him all under center and everything. Florida got to that huge lead. We put him, 4 or 5 wide shotgun and let him chuck the ball, and things started to click. So obviously not throwing the ball in the same way as Brock Berlin, but Tate Martell said, yeah, that's the way that I was expecting to go because that fits my skill set more. But Dan Enos, being true to himself, he said, look, this is the way I want to run offense. So you need to learn how to run the offense like this, or you're not going to be the quarterback. And that is what ended up being true. So, yeah, Jarren Williams, like I said before, consistent. And that word came up routinely, like over and over and over again over the course of time. His consistency, just especially with his accuracy, throwing the ball accurately, not turning it over, and then having a level of explosion to his performance as well. It just put him head and shoulders above both N'Kosi Perry and Tate Martell, and that's why Jarren Williams is going to be your starting quarterback.
Kim Underwood on the line with us from State of the U each and every Wednesday night talking Miami football, and much to talk about, of course, concerning one particular position. We will get to the Derek Smith transfer as well, but we'll continue on the quarterback storyline. Of course, Jarren Williams being named the starter this week. In reading the statement from Manny Diaz, it seemed very decided. He seemed to be very bold in his statement in regards to talking about determination and skill set and work ethic concerning Jarren Williams. Cam, was the basic reason why Jarren Williams received the least amount of conversation concerning the fan base and others because Tate Martell is coming from a huge program, Ohio State, and before that was a 5-star. And of course, N'Kosi Perry already played, so there was that familiarity of what he could do to a certain extent, both the good and the bad, the positive and the negative from last year. So you got a guy that's got some experience that people can relate to versus the guy that's got the name. He comes from a big program, both in high school and at the other collegiate level program, versus the guy that was kind of an unknown to a certain extent, at least in when the bullets are fired for real.
Yeah, there was a bit of that, obviously. N'Kosi Perry did start 5 games last year. He threw for over 1,000 yards. I wrote about it, obviously, in the course of the season, but at one point he had a higher touchdown rate than did Trevor Lawrence in his first couple of starts at Clemson. He was playing well at the time, and obviously that performance was not consistent. But he was a known quantity. He had started already here. And then Tate Martell, if you go back to the Netflix show, the QB1, obviously 43-0, 3-time national champion at Bishop Gorman High School in Las Vegas, a well-known recruit. People say, now, okay, well, he was a 5-star, but he ended up dropping down a little bit, towards the end. At the final rankings, Jarren Williams is actually the highest rated player in the final recruiting rankings for their given years. But at a time, Tate Martell was a 5-star. Obviously, he had this cachet and everything. He's coming in from Ohio State. Transfer portal was its own story and things like that. So just coming down to Miami, ostensibly to start, that's what the expectation, especially for him, had to have been. You're going to look at those guys who are, again, a year older as well, both Martell and Perry being redshirt sophomores versus being a redshirt freshman. In Jarren Williams. So, yeah, that was it. And, Jarren Williams, honestly, and it was spoken about at Media Day yesterday with the Miami Hurricanes. He did not take it well that he didn't start as a true freshman. He was like, look, he was looking in front of him and saying, look, neither of these guys is as good as me. I need to be out there. I need to be playing. And Mark Richt, wanted to give him the lesson of sitting and learning, from the sideline, getting the mental reps and things like that. And, Jarren Williams put on like 20 pounds. Like he was big and chunky looking like me. And that's not a good thing when you're a Division I quarterback right now. I'm trying to lose this weight, but I haven't. And when Jarren Williams closely resembles me physically, that's not a good thing. So, yeah, he was very down on just the process on himself and everything. He was going to call Mark Richt to transfer and tell him, look, I'm leaving. Brevin Jordan and somebody else, I forget who, were in the car with him at the time that he was going to make that call. Like he had decided it and decided, I'm going to call Mark Richt right now. Brevin Jordan talked him out of that. He decided to stick around. He was working with his high school coach, working with his quarterback trainer up in Atlanta. Obviously really bought into the strength and conditioning program, reshaped his body, dropped all of that bad weight that he put on just from, eating his feelings and whatnot last year. Yeah, so he was kind of not the odd man out, but not necessarily a favorite, not a guy with a storyline. And like, if you've been watching these, streams or listening to this podcast, that I'm the president of the N'Kosi Perry fan club. I've been a fan of N'Kosi Perry going on 4 years now. You know what I mean? Ever since he was a junior in high school, the first time that he committed to Miami. But, you know, even when I said that I am, and I still am an N'Kosi Perry fan, and I hope that, you know, somewhere, I don't know if it's going to be at Miami, but I hope that he does well. Look, he got beaten out by Jarren Williams. Periodpointblank.com in the story. So whether I like it, love it, hate it, whatever, same thing with Tate Martell, his sister, apparently, I don't know if that was real or not. Maybe she was popping off on social media as well. But regardless of the feelings of anybody else, the thing that I appreciate about the process is Enos and Diaz put all the quarterbacks at the same starting point and said, y'all go run, y'all go win this. And the person who it needs to be, it will be. And, you know, Manny Diaz said it's not going to be a person who wants to be the quarterback. It's going to be the person who cannot live and breathe without being the quarterback at the University of Miami this year. And that was Jarren Williams. And he was hell-bent and determined to get that job, and he won it. And like I said, I still am an N'Kosi Perry fan, but I'm a University of Miami alum, and I'm all on aboard with Jarren Williams. So I'm going to root him. I'm not. Some people even came in my mentions on Twitter saying, oh, I can't wait for him to throw his first interception in Cam to say, da-da-da-da. I don't know who you think that I am. You know what I mean? Like, I want to win. So I hope that that is what comes to fruition. If not, then hopefully he can develop and move forward. But I am not going to sit here and second guess the decision that was made. Obviously, you know, the other guys had their opportunities to win the job, and they did not, but Jarren did. So you know what? We ride with Jarren, and let's go.
And Cam, you certainly made the point a number of times, and certainly we can look at other quarterback situations in recent past across the country to know that this isn't necessarily over, a done deal for good. But you did mention off the top, the best thing that could possibly happen for Miami football is that Jarren Williams becomes a star, never relinquishes the job, plays extremely well, wins football games, wins a division title, and goes from there. And the other two guys never see the field in meaningful minutes. But they're three comparable players, especially Perry and Williams. So we've seen this play out in other destinations and other locations and other programs, and certainly don't necessarily, this isn't necessarily over, a done deal in regards to the other players being completely out of the mix because they're so comparable, at least the way they were recruited and ranked at the time. But as you mentioned, it came to light for me, and I even remember the rankings when I look back at Jarren Williams. Once I saw the news and I saw number 5 in his class as the pro style passer, number 5th rated, I believe, and number 77 overall, regardless of position. And folks, if you don't follow recruiting, that's rarefied air. Number 77, regardless of position. That I thought, oh yeah, I remember those numbers. He was that good. This kid it just seemed like a shock to a ton of people because again, the Tate Martell cachet and then the Perry familiarity from playing and throwing 13 touchdowns last year, they seemed to be the guys everybody was talking about.
Right. And the thing about it is, you know, Jarren Williams had almost, 9,300 yards of total offense and 90 touchdowns in high school. You know, over the course of 3 seasons, he had like almost 7,500 or 7,800 yards of total offense in the last 2 years of him in high school. Like, this is a kid who is really damn good. Like, he was a U.S. Army All-American and balled out in the same year as Trevor Lawrence, both of them being from Lawrenceville, Georgia, in different high schools, obviously, because you're not going to have two dudes of that caliber playing for the same school. But, I mean, yeah, you know, people are like, oh, well, you know, who is this guy? Who is this guy? You know, I even went back and I looked at, you know, all the stuff that we'd previously written about him, you know, the player profile for this year, the recruit notebook that I wrote when he signed early, you know, and everything. Like, this is a kid with really elite talent. You know, and like I said, it took him a year to get it settled. It did look like the game was a step too fast for him last year. But, dude, he's been doing his work. He's reshaped his body. He's really leaned in. They have an offense that fits what he does well. He does have a good, strong arm. Again, I still maintain that N'Kosi Perry has a stronger arm, but don't make that think that Jarren Williams cannot make throws, because he can, and he obviously has. So, yeah, this is a guy, a top 7, I mean, almost 75, but 77th overall in the recruiting class last year. Yeah, I mean, if you're a top 100, even in the 90s, that's huge. Look at the top 77, 75 guys in any recruiting class. That's not by happenstance. They don't, like, guys don't just get up there because, you know, of the high school that they went to or anything like that. I mean, that means that you can play. So, yeah, there are lots of things to be excited about with Jarren Williams. As I've said all through this process, all 3 guys have Miami caliber talent. So even though I might personally be a fan of one more than the other, all 3 could, if they put things together, be the starting quarterbacks quarterback, at the University of Miami and do well. That happens to be Jarren Williams. He seized the moment. He went out and won that job. So yeah, this is a guy who might not be known to a lot of people who are not huge recruiting fans, but let it be known and let it be said, Jarren Williams has elite kind of talent that he can display, and hopefully he obviously develops and is able to show that over the course of time wearing orange and green.
Cam Underwood joining us from State of the U, of course, each and every Wednesday night here talking Miami football, and a very exciting week this week, and of course next week. I can't believe it's a game week next week. That's crazy.
I know. Like I'm looking at setting the schedule of what we're going to publish over on State of the U, and I'm just like, wow, like next week is game week. That's flabbergasting, but hey, we're here, so we'll definitely be owning the moment over on stateoftheu.com. So be sure that you check us out because we'll have plenty of stuff for you guys over there.